mean, we were sitting around the apparatus floor trying to figure out what we were going to do for dinner. And then the tones went off. And it's one of those calls where you know it's real because you can hear the tone in the dispatcher's voice. You can kind of hear the commotion going back and forth in the room. So we're like, all right, don't think we're having dinner tonight. So yes.
Thoughts and opinions by JobTlks podcast members and guests are not representative of any department, organization. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Jobs. We're here today with Mike Caddell from Newton, Massachusetts Fire Department. Mike, what's up, man?
Nothing. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. So we had Paul Morrison on last season, and I talked to him a lot about like the tech rescue mindset and about people that would be good people to talk to, and he gave me your name. So obviously I wanted to reach out and make this happen. So I'm pretty excited you're here.
Well, happy to be here.
So kind of just like moving right into it. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself? Like obviously who you are, how you got started in the fire service?
Yeah. So I've been with Newton Fire Department 21 years now. I got into it. The story I like to tell is when my mother was young. Her father was one of 5 boys. They all fought in World War II. My grandfather was the only one not to become a cop or a firefighter. So we grew up right down the street from one of the stations here in Newton, and anytime a truck would drive by, my grandfather would load my mom up in the car and they'd go chase the trucks. So fast forward to, I'm a kid, and my mom would do the same with me. Yeah. So, I've had, a few generations of my family on the Newton Fire Department. A couple of them were captains. I made it one step higher. So
set the bar a little higher for each generation.
No big deal. No big deal,
No big deal. So I mean, it was kind of always, in the back of my mind. I took my first civil service test in 2000. In 2001, I had started the process to join the military. And when I went through the medical physical, they found a sports hernia. So they were like, all right, go get that fixed and come on back.
Yeah.
Well, then I started getting the cards, and I just never went back, and I got hired in 2002.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I had gone back to the military, I started the process in the spring of 2001. So probably would have been off in Afghanistan and then Iraq. So
what branch did you want to join?
I was just going into the Army.
All right, we can be friends.
We can all we can be friends.
Yeah. So I mean, that didn't pan out, but luckily for me, I got hired right away off my first test. So like you guys were joking, no, I'm not a medic. Newton doesn't have that requirement. So I ended up getting, I got my EMT because that was 2 points for the promotional exam. And,
Did you find in the early 2000s, I know it seems to kind of come in waves. Was it really competitive during that time? It seems like there's waves where everyone was trying to take the job and there was only X amount of seats at the table. And now it seems like, we're probably pretty fortunate in Newton and Cambridge where we still have like a good flow of people, but talk to a lot of people now and they're like, we can't even get applicants.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, back then it was that generational change where a lot of the Vietnam era guys were starting to retire. Yeah. So from like 2002 to, I want to say 2005, I want to say we hired close to 60 people.
Wow.
So we had a huge flip, in the demographics and the age of our job. So yeah, I was lucky, lucky I did well, and um, you know, I knew a couple of guys on the job. Um, you know, hell, they were probably my like little league coaches and stuff from growing up.
Right. Yeah.
So we're probably about the same age, and I think it's interesting because so I joined the Army my senior year of high school, which was 2001, and I left for boot camp the summer of '02.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because sorry, I gotta pause you for 1 second. Well, give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, because right now Cambridge is a very young job. It
Oh
feels
yeah.
like yeah.
I mean,
And you,
I looked at the numbers. I want to say we're roughly 75% of the department has 15 years or less.
yeah, I'd say
So,
we're very much so in that margin. Yeah,
so yeah, it's just crazy the turnover. I'm almost at the point now where I've been on the job almost as long as some of the new guys have been alive.
yeah,
So
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I'm the old
Um,
guy now.
I apologize for that. I was waiting for a package that required a signature, and I knew they were going to show up in the middle of recording. I missed the delivery on Saturday. So sorry, I was just saying, like, it's interesting because we got to be close to the same age. I'm guessing you went in somewhere near after high school, right? Pretty close.
Yeah. Let's see. I graduated in '96.
All right.
So I got hired when I was 23 on the department. So
Which is awesome.
I hit that magic number.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like had you you've obviously made a name for yourself and a career for yourself doing what you've done in 21 years, and like the military experience is cool, and I'm like happy I did it, but it was 9 years before from like the time I joined to the time I got into the fire service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm just a little bit behind. Not that hopefully I won't get to where I want to be, but just a little bit, behind that curve of what I want to do now. I never actually knew I'm a first generation firefighter. I didn't really exactly know what I wanted to do. But that's interesting. So you came in '02 in Newton, and where were you assigned first?
I was assigned to Ladder 2, which is
Nice.
up in the Highlands. Yeah. So it was like the busiest ladder company. Just we had the biggest district, 4 ladder companies in the city.
Yeah.
Going mutual aid to a ton of towns. So luckily, I was with some real senior people. Like I had the driver and the guy on the back step with me had been working together for 24 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I came in and there was still a ton of old knowledge. Like my senior man, he was on me every day for like 2 years. Just, all right, hey, where's this tool? Go get me that tool. Just,
Right.
Kind of instilled in me early on. Just, that's your truck. Know your truck inside and out.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so something, I always try to, quiz the new guys on.
This episode is brought to you by Fortified Leather. Fortified Leather is owned by Nathan Welch, a firefighter out in Selma, California. I've had the opportunity over the last few weeks to get to know Nathan and learn a lot about his business, and I couldn't be happier to have him as a sponsor of the show. Fortified Leather comes from humble family beginnings when Nathan found some leather working tools left over from an old relative. He was in need of a shield at the time and decided to try his hand at leatherwork, and we're certainly glad he did. Since then, Fortified Leather has grown from making that first shield to a solid business shipping quality leather-made goods all over the country. Fortified Leather makes leather suspenders, bunker belts, custom radio harnesses, glove holsters, flashlight holders, and a whole lot more. They're high quality and able to be customized, so if you're in the market, head over to fortifiedleather.com and check out our friend Nathan. Make sure to tell him that JobTlks sent you over. Don't forget to find him on all the social media channels, give him a follow and a shout out, and let's keep supporting our firefighter and family-owned businesses. Hey guys, thanks for taking a second before the episode to listen to our sponsors. just wanted to let you guys know that we decided to create a Patreon account as well. Unfortunately, producing this podcast isn't free as much as we love doing it. Between the equipment, the software, and all the editing stuff, it costs money. We want to be around for the long haul, and we want to be able to provide you with good quality episodes and eventually hands-on training. To do that, unfortunately, we need to bring money in. So we have our Patreon account. You can go to patreon.com/JobTlks. That's patreon.com/JobTlks. We have 2-tier subscriptions. The first tier is $1 a month. Basically just letting us know that you support what we're doing, and we really appreciate that. In exchange, we're going to give you 10% off any classes or lectures that we do in the future. We have another tier for $2.50 a month. And in that tier, we're going to actually invite you to be an audience as we record live episodes. So when we schedule an episode with a guest, you will get a link to your email to view that episode live as a guest. And then from that subscription, we're going to pick once or twice a season somebody to actually come on and be part of the episode with us. Right now, that's what we can offer, and we hope you guys like it. We hope you'll support us. So again, patreon.com/JobTlks, and we appreciate you. Yeah. It's important. I think like being able, like, I know when I got hired, they did the same thing that, you know, like, go get me this tool or what's in this cabinet. And like, you got to know, because that muscle memory at 3 a.m. is important.
It's huge. It's huge.
Those guys were on 24 years when you got hired, have been working together 24 years. So you're talking late 70s, all through late 70s, 80s, and 90s, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. So those guys not only worked together, but saw quite a bit, I imagine.
Yeah. Just so much experience that, unfortunately, the only way we can get that experience today is, you know, through training and just training all the time.
Yeah, the volume of fire those guys probably saw.
Right. Yeah, I always joke, like, I mean, this is the greatest job in the world. I don't think we're going to find anybody that would disagree with that. I always said, if I could have a fire every time I went to work, I'd be the happiest person ever. Like, I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody. I don't want anybody's, to lose their stuff. Yeah. But, this is the job we signed up for, and, I want to do it.
Yeah. It's a weird like juxtaposition, and the way I always try to explain it is like, I don't want anything to happen to anybody, but if it's going to happen, I want to be the one on duty when it does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I want to be the one to fix your problem.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I want to fix the problem. It's a weird juxtaposition to like a job that deals in death and destruction sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like being on a sports team. If you practice and practice and practice, eventually you want to play the game.
You want to get in. Yeah.
You want to do a good job. You want to make the save.
Yeah, absolutely. Early 2000s was still pretty busy with fires.
Yeah. We were probably averaging 4 or 5 multiple alarm fires a year.
Yeah.
So it was good. I mean, I got to see some good fire, and I got not yelled at once, but I'm on a roof and I'm venting the roof, and I've got like a huge smile on my face. I'm having the time of my life. Like 23, 24 years old. I'm swinging an axe on a roof, right?
Yeah.
Smoke all around me, and my lieutenant's like, "Hey, I know you're having a good time, but those people over there, you're smashing open their house because it's on fire." So,
right.
Learn how to take a step back and, respect the situation.
Yeah. Just keep it in perspective.
Yeah. I think that's exactly it. You can love the job, but still respect like what's happening to someone else,
Yeah.
And having that like mentality goes into a lot of things. I feel like, so when you have that mentality, you don't go in people's houses and just like knock over china cabinets and destroy shit that doesn't need to be destroyed. Because I feel like at least early in my career, and I'm like only 12 years in now, so I haven't been on too long, but early in my career, you see and it feels like people think that that's just like what you just go in and you break shit to put the fire out. And as you grow and learn to respect the situation, not only do you realize like, hey, this is bad for fire ground operations, but it's also just not good for the people who are there that might be able to salvage things. You don't know what you're breaking, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's like one of my huge pet peeves. And it's like, you guys have it in Cambridge, in Newton. We have a lot of nice houses.
Yeah.
The double hung window. Hey, in 2 seconds, I can pop the pins and I can take the whole window out and I can put it back in when I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like the days of just running through and smashing windows. I mean, as we all know, like flow path and ventilation techniques.
Yeah.
Don't go around just smashing every window out. Like those days are done.
Yeah,
right.
I actually have kind of a funny story with that. So we're at the church fire, the 6-alarm church fire we had recent. I don't know, it's like maybe 4 or 5 months ago or whatever.
Easter.
Easter, yeah. And I was inside, and there was like a stained glass window, and someone came up to me. They're like, "Hey, like we gotta vent these like windows, let some smoke out." And I like turn around, and one I'm like, "All right, like we probably don't have to do that." But two, it was on Easter, and I turned around, and it was a stained glass of Mother Teresa, and I was like, I turned around, I was like, "Listen, man, like." Can we not though? Because like this is just some bad omens that I don't want. Oh my God,
this just feels like I'm gonna get trapped on my way out if I do this.
You know what I mean? We didn't do it, and I was like, listen,
step out of that church and get struck by lightning.
Struck by lightning, yeah.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I guided it, and I was like, maybe we could vent like that window. It was just like a normal window.
The one that's easy to replace and not completely priceless.
But I was literally laughing in the moment. I was like, maybe another one.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, but we all have those people on the job that wouldn't think twice about swinging an axe through that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how long were you on ladder 2? Ladder 2, right?
Yeah. Ladder 2. I was on ladder 2 for about 6 years. Interesting time. I kind of realized early on that I wanted to get promoted. There were some really good leaders, and like every job, there were some pretty not good leaders. And I was like, hey, I don't want to really put my life in his hands or their hands. So, I got just kind of dove right into the job, and I was always taking classes, and I was like, all right, I'll get promoted. I ended up being acting lieutenant in my group. So I would go from Alpha to Delta, back to Alpha. So I was acting for a couple of years, and then I finally got promoted in 2009.
Awesome.
And so word of advice, when they ask you a weakness, don't say engine company operations, because they're going to promote you and put you on an engine company.
Yeah. Like, oh, don't worry, we can fix that problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay.
We got some great senior people here that are gonna shape you up.
Yeah, and luckily, the group I went to, they had some really good people, and I just kind of started all over again every day in the morning. The driver's going over the pump. I'm out there, running the pump with them and learning that. And, making sure I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before, but like I think like that's a difference. So Newton, real quick, what do you guys run for like daily staffing?
So we have minimum manning in the winter months, which gives us an officer and 3 on every piece. So for us, that would be with the shift commander, it would be 42. The other 9 months, our minimum is 36.
Okay.
So we can do an officer and 2 firefighters on our 6 engines, and then we do 1 and 3 on the 3 ladders in the rescue.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we've talked about before, like you're a mid-sized department, and you have the ability to potentially go to a company, whether a truck, a pump, or rescue, whatever, and spend, if not your whole career, a majority of your career there, versus the smaller departments that have to learn all of those pieces from the very jump. And it's just really, really different. And I think it's, obviously you're kind of a tech rescue guy at heart, I feel like. So engine company might not be your favorite game, but I'm sure like more well-rounded on the fire ground for having some experience in that, being able to know all the pieces that are going together as you're working a fire, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it was, I mean, everybody that knows me, I love tech rescue. I mean, all right, guilty as charged, but I love firefighting, right? So, I think like the first month the rescue went in service, my whole crew, we signed up for the burn day, the advanced burn day at the academy, and you're just running through, 4 or 5 basic fires, and all we're doing is, pumping hose, laying lines, putting out fires, and so it's just it's great, and especially if you don't have a burn building, you're not getting the fires, just going through the motions and actually practicing like you play.
Yeah, Will and I actually took that course together.
When we started working together, we were like, hey, you want to like take this class and kind of get to know each other on the fire ground a little bit,
Yep.
Yeah.
But like you said, you have to make experiences now in training, to be able to have them for the fire ground.
Yeah, it was funny because like I was almost like brand new when we went to that class, and like we went back and all the instructors all of a sudden like super nice to you. And I was like, dude, like 3 weeks ago, you fucking hated me.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, Barry, how are you? I was like, I'm fine.
This is weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Good sir, you.
Yeah.
So I want to take it back just a little bit. So you got promoted in 2009. So you were on ladder 2, and this is one of the specific calls I wanted to talk to you about. In 2008, right, there was a train collision on the Green Line that at least killed one person and injured a dozen or so.
Yep. Yeah. Crazy call. I mean, I'll remember it for forever. I mean, we were sitting around the apparatus floor trying to figure out what we were going to do for dinner, and then the tones went off, and it's one of those calls where it's real because you can hear the tone in the dispatcher's voice. You can kind of hear the commotion going back and forth in the room. So we're like, all right, don't think we're having dinner tonight. So the operator of the Green Line, I think, had a medical emergency, and I think she ended up, passing out. And what had happened is her train went full speed and rear-ended another train that was at a stop, letting people off.
Wow.
Yeah, so that call went 3 alarms, brought everyone, every truck from Newton, brought Boston Rescue 1 in. I think they just came in as a special call. And then eventually, at the time, Braintree had a MBTA crash vehicle that ended up coming. But I mean, we were there. I think it took us about 8 hours to extricate the driver.
Wow.
Wow.
It took quite a while.
So this is, so you had mentioned just a minute ago about the heavy rescue going in service. So this is well before you guys, probably 10 years before you guys had a heavy rescue. So I know you've always been into tech rescue. So had you been taking classes, and were there people on shift that were had some tech rescue experience, and you guys had equipment to make this happen?
We didn't really have any equipment. We didn't have any of the equipment to make it happen. Luckily, there was, a good group of us who are very versed in tech rescue. One of my mentors, Jay Bourgeois, he was a training officer when I got hired. He came in for the, academy to teach ropes and knots and do some rappelling. And it was like, from that moment, I was like, oh, I get to do this. I'm like, all right, cool. So, he ended up being my officer for a while. And, he just took me under his wing and he's like, all right, go take these classes, go do this. So, he was there. I had a couple of other guys on the job that, I knew we all had some knowledge, but no equipment for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So what had happened is the train, the front 20 feet of the train curled underneath.
Wow.
And the operator was like under all of that.
Holy
so we
shit.
had like, oh yeah. And then the floors. So I don't know, maybe you guys are familiar with the light rail.
Yep.
The floor accordioned, and there was one person trapped down in a V.
Wow.
And she was pinned mid shin. So
Jeez.
actually, yeah. So myself and another lieutenant, we were digging through there trying to pull the chairs out. What we ended up doing is we got the jaws in there and started slowly spreading and cribbing. And, as soon as a little bit of the pressure was released, she's like, I'm free, I'm free. And she was screaming. I'm like, no, you're not free yet. And eventually we got it enough room and we got her out. And I mean, I think I saw her for 2 seconds. She was on a backboard. It happened right next to a golf course, so there was a med flight sitting there waiting, and she was on the med flight and she was gone. I mean,
Wow.
That happened within the first 20 minutes of the incident.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I think that would probably be like my first real extrication rescue of somebody actually really pinned.
And was the operator of the train the one that died, or was it a passenger? It was the operator.
No, it was the operator, and she was the only fatality.
Right, I had seen that.
Yeah, so we had 2 teams operating. One team on the outside just kind of tunnel their way in, just taking away sheet metal, trying to go in, and myself and Lieutenant Bourgeois were trying to make our way through the floor of the train, which is, 1/4-inch steel, 2 layers of that. Boston Rescue 1 brought their exothermic torch in. We were trying to cut it with the torch. We were trying to cut it through with the K12. We were throwing everything we had in it, and we weren't getting through.
Light rail.
Rail. Yeah. No, like the majority of it, the exoskeleton, yeah, you can give me a screw gun and a sawzall, and I can get through all of that.
Yeah.
The actual frame of it, nope.
Yeah. So were you successful getting through the floor, or did you guys have to find another way around?
No. So eventually, when the Braintree MBTA truck came, they had the big lifting jacks.
Yep.
And what we were able to do is we were actually able to lift the train up. And when that happened, we were free and clear, had access, and we were able to recover the operator.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a career-worthy call right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And did that start the conversation of tech rescue in Newton, or some more dedicated equipment and things like that, or was it years later?
Well, back in 2005, we lost Engine 6 to budget cuts, and at the time, our assistant chief, his plan was he wanted to replace that engine with the rescue. That was his goal. That was his dream. So that trolley crash helped. And eventually, when he became chief, like, he made it his goal to get the rescue in service.
Yep.
So after I spent about a year on Engine 1, I got moved to the training division. And working days, I started writing grants, for the department. And the chief was like, "Hey, you love tech rescue. Lieutenant Bourgeois loves tech rescue." He's like, "I'm going to make this happen." So it was a project over several years to make it happen.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's an overarching theme when we talk to people who have worked to build like additional companies or capabilities and stuff, is that every single one of them says, I wrote grants.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously a huge part of being able to do this stuff, because you have to operate within your budget. So
Yeah.
having those grants helps people.
Yeah.
So were your grants for staffing and equipment, or for just one or the other?
So the first grant that we were awarded was for training. So back in 2014, I jokingly say we had a 8-week tech rescue summer camp.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we had 22 guys get moved to the day schedule. Went Monday through Friday for 8 weeks during the summer, and we did everything. Wow. We did both rope ops, tech, trench, confined space, swift water, vehicle extrication, man versus machine, and then we did the 80-hour FEMA SCT course to finish it off.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Yeah. That I feel, it's funny because I feel, so we talked about knowing different people from the department, and I knew Shane Medeiros, and I remember him talking about being selected to go on the rescue, and listening to you say 2014 just seems like it was a couple of years ago, not a decade ago.
Right? It's crazy how fast things go by.
Yeah,
especially in this job.
Yeah. And one more thing about Shane is he posted like a photo or something shortly after that, maybe 2014, 15, 16, that time frame. You guys have a walkthrough, right?
And walk in,
yeah. So he was like riding the back with the doors open, going home from a call, and I was like, oh my god, you mother, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
He was Insta Shane.
Yeah.
He was
Shane, I love it.
Insta Shane. Yeah, he was very happy. Yeah, he'd be on that back step, just looking out the back door, driving around. Yeah, he had fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So how long did you end up in the training division, and then when you came out, did you go because you had done all the work for the rescue? You went from training to the rescue.
Well, so 2014 we did the training. 2015 we got the grant for the truck.
Yep.
And then 2016 was spent, buying the equipment, getting everything ready. So in 2014, I left the training division. I actually went back to Ladder 2 as the lieutenant. It was my old group.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And then I was there until the truck went in service in 2017.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful truck, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is badass. Barry's a truck nerd. I don't know if you know this. He'll tell you what the trucks look like in every community in the Commonwealth.
Hey,
and that truck, man, got to give credit where credit's due. The thing's badass.
Yeah. Barry sends me photos like, look at this Franklin ladder, beautiful. Black over red.
Publicly, don't help me in public.
No, it's a safe place. We're on the internet. It's safe.
Yeah, safe.
So when you came out, you were still a lieutenant.
Yeah.
When did you make captain?
2000. Well, like I was saying to Barry, it's people that are like on the rescue. Very self-motivated, highly motivated. They tend to promote themselves off. I did it twice.
Yeah.
So I made captain 2018. No, 2017. Yeah. Made captain, I think 6 months after the truck went in service. So they moved me over to Engine 3, which is like the sister truck at headquarters with the rescue. And I was on Engine 3 for maybe 4 or 5 months. And then the captain of the rescue went out sick. And they moved me over. And then I was captain of the rescue.
Huh. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know for us, we have like a combination of like guys who promote themselves off and guys that know how good the spot is and intentionally don't take the test because you could end up anywhere. So it's kind of like a crapshoot of like
22.
Yeah, you get good guys that leave, which obviously suck, and then you get the guys that'll stay there their whole career as a backstep guy just because they don't want to go anywhere else. Which is I think is I mean, you get people that do that on every company, right? You get people that are truckies at heart, you get people that are engine guys at heart for whatever reason, and then and you get the guys that just want to stay there the whole time, which isn't a bad thing, right?
No, I mean I joke with Paul Morrison all the time. I'm like, hey, you guys take lateral. I'll ride the back. I'll ride the back step of your rescue for the last 10 of my career.
Yeah. That'd be. I know. Paul was in the same situation because he was on the rescue and he promoted himself off, and then he'll say it. He's like I didn't think I would get back here as soon as I did. So I know he's happy. I don't know what his plans are, but I imagine he'll stay where he's at.
I would imagine so, unless someone told him the guarantee. You can make captain. You'll stay here, but
right.
His crew is so solid too. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the crew, the group dynamic there is pretty solid.
Yeah, really solid. And I mean that just starts. It kind of starts at the top. He's such a motivated individual, and he just has the passion for it. It kind of becomes infectious.
Yeah.
You kind of get the right people, and when I was captain of the rescue, I had just phenomenal guys working with me, and we trained a lot. Guys would say, "Oh, Captain Caddell, he's training after dinner time. He's taking them out at night ops." I'm like, that's just all the talk, around the kitchen table. I mean, we'd get done with dinner. We'd sit on the back step and talk about calls, talk about situations. But
that's the kind of crew I feel like you want to be in, though. You know what I mean? In my opinion, somebody said it recently. If people aren't talking shit about you, you're not doing it right.
Exactly. It makes it so enjoyable.
Yeah, and when push comes to shoves, that's the crew that's ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we were always ready to go, and I loved it. We wore hour bottles for a while.
Yeah.
Which 90% of the time absolutely sucked. But when you go to a fire, we'd go in. All right, we'd do our search, do whatever. We'd get done, and I'd tell the crew, I'm like, all right, go find the hose line.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? I'm like, because they're going to be out of air in like a minute, and we're going to take the hose line. And we'd be able to stay in the fire building for 25 minutes, half an hour, and get to touch on, all right, we did our search. All right, now we're putting the fire out. All right, now we're doing ventilation, we're doing overhaul, we're we're kind of doing everything.
Hey guys, thanks for coming. We just mopped it up in there,
and but that's it. You got guys that love the job, they want to work.
Yeah, you guys low on air? Nope,
we're not. Nope. What do they say? Give me I want the hardest job on the fire ground every single time, right? Like those are the kind of guys that it's good to have in any company, but like having in your company is great. And like Barry was saying, like it just makes, I don't know, I feel like it just makes everything better because you have guys, like we talk a lot about like the cool kids club. So like the mentality that it's you're a nerd if you're into the job, or like you're cool if you're not into the job. And like fighting that and like being the counterculture to that can be difficult. And then when you have a day or you have a group and you're around like those people and just all day long you're just going,
Yeah.
it just makes the day so good.
Yeah.
You know?
It's, I don't know, the famous saying, you can't train enough for a job that can kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
It just building that teamwork. It's like, I mean, you were on the military, like building that trust in your group and your team.
Yeah.
Not everybody in the fire service believes in that. And unfortunately, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was, one thing I truly believe in is, all right, we're building a group, we're building a team. Like, if, shit hits the fan, who are the people next to me that I'm going to rely on?
Yeah.
And, I do want to go home at the end of my shift, and I want to make sure everybody else does.
Right.
So let's put ourselves in a better position to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only for a job that can kill us, but for a job that is going to kill people inside their houses if we don't do it right,
Yeah.
Like hugely important. And I feel like it also translates into like off the job stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so like Barry and I are a perfect example. Like we became really close working together and now we're, best friends, you know what I mean? And it translates into more than just being at work. Like I know if I break my leg, Barry's going to show up in the ER. You know what I mean? Not saying that happened by experience, just I know in my head, or vice versa. You know what I mean? And I think that's huge. It's not only people you can rely on in the firehouse, but people you can rely on in your daily life, which is hard to come by as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When my brother broke his leg, like, oh, no.
And it's, but I mean, we're lucky and like we're in a profession like, we spend an eighth of our lives with each other.
Yeah.
We're there for holidays. We're sharing meals together all the time. Like we are, call it dumb or whatever you want to say, but it's the truth. So, kind of like the movies have it where everyone's getting together and celebrating birthdays together. No, that's another perk of the job. That's another great thing.
Right. Right. You're gaining
unfortunately,
lifelong.
I don't see. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're not seeing as much of that as I think we used to. I mean, before we started, Barry and I were saying, the switch from the 10s and 14s to the 24s kind of made that a little harder.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard that from a lot of people that were on the 10s and 14s, because you would get off shift and go do something together right then and there versus like trying to go home. And I've heard, I know in our job, I think the lack of a residency requirement, although very good for people because they can move to more affordable places and whatever, definitely lends itself to making that more challenging because guys live I mean, that like Barry and I, just using us as an example again, we're great friends, but we live an hour and a half away from each other. So, I'd love to see him every day, but that's just not, that's just not a possibility, unfortunately, especially when you start adding kids and families in the mix. So having those people, like, again, that you can, like, if shit does hit the fan, I know I'll drive that hour and a half. I know Barry will drive that hour and a half. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's important to have those people in your life when the situation dictates it at work, and when you're, just in your daily, like, civilian life,
Oh, yeah.
So you promoted yourself off the rescue twice. So you are now a deputy chief.
Deputy chief, one of the 4 shift commanders. Yeah.
So you guys run a deputy chief that commands your entire shift.
Yes.
Yeah. So and how long have you been doing that now?
Since 2020. I went acting in the car the spring of 2020 and got promoted in the fall of 20. And,
awesome.
Yeah, it's good. Has its perks. Still, I'm still young. I still love doing the work. So it's been an adjustment to be the one sitting in front yard and trying to take in the big picture.
Yeah.
Right.
And kind of tell other people, to do it when, give me that axe, I'll go do it.
Right.
But no, it's good. And
It's
hopefully,
probably good motivation for your guys. They're like, oh man, if we fuck this up, he's gonna come in here and fix it himself.
I'm very blessed. I've got a ton of great officers.
Yeah.
That I just have all the trust in the world.
Yeah.
People know me. I set my expectations. They know they can come to me with anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let them do their thing. If I have to step in, I will. But no, it's really just try to empower my people and let them do their thing. And if they need something, they know how to get in touch with me.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it makes my job, as the shift commander, so much easier. Just having all the trust in my crew.
And it's big for crews to know that you trust them too. You know what I mean? Like it's big for crews to feel like they can just work and that you trust them to do the right thing. And like if they mess up, you'll correct it, but in a way that it should. Like we talked about, Freddie Eichels, our one of our deputies. When Barry and I were together, he was both our deputy, and we had a couple times where like we made some mistakes on some calls, and he was like, "Hey, listen, this can't happen. This is how we fix it." You know what I mean? And I also think like the crew sets the tone of the commander, and vice versa. So if you're a crew that doesn't train or doesn't do whatever that they can't trust, that conversation might be a little bit more, hey, listen, motherfucker, this is how it's going to get done. And if it's guys that are really trying and that you trust and are trying to do the right thing, it's a little more like, hey, let me guide you in the right path, and everybody needs a little bit different influencing approach.
And that's it. Like, all right, mistakes are going to happen. Okay, I've made plenty of mistakes. Just be an adult about it, admit them, learn from them. Let's move on.
That's the most important thing, right? We're all going to make them. I mean, God knows I make them every time we have an incident. It's just how big they are, and we did a whole episode on making mistakes and how important they are, and failure, and especially when nobody's looking, still knowing like, hey, I made that mistake, and trying to take that lesson from it. Like, okay,
internalize
I know nobody else saw this, but I know it happened, so I'm gonna make sure that it doesn't happen next time, where it leads to something even worse, or whatever the case is.
The most important ones.
It's just take a line from Jocko. Just take ownership.
Absolutely.
Just own it. Okay.
Yep. Move on.
I'll have no problem admitting when I make a mistake, and okay, I messed up. Let's move on. Let's learn from it.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Important stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the tech rescue side of things, because I know that's your true passion. So, you teach for the Mass State Fire Academy as an instructor for the tech rescue program. You're an assistant coordinator for the tech rescue program right now.
Yeah. So I've been teaching with them for about 10 years now. About the last year and a half as the assistant program coordinator. I love it. It was one of those things where I took all the classes so many times. They were like, all right, we're getting sick of you. Just come teach with us. and that's,
now
that's
I can get paid to do it. Sweet.
Yeah, exactly. All right, wait, I get to get paid and hang out with like my friends, and like, it's like I might be teaching the class, but I'm with so many intelligent people that we have in our program that I'm learning something every day I teach. Learn something new technique, new equipment. So our programs, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think we have a awesome program. and we're constantly trying to update to stay fresh on all the skills and equipment because, if you know anything about tech rescue, it's ever evolving.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
right. Do you have a favorite discipline?
Favorite? That's tough. That is tough because, we just redid our confined space program a couple of years ago. So I was diving headfirst into that. So I don't know. I'm a big guy. You wouldn't think myself and small spaces would go hand in hand, but I do love the challenge there. But like rope, I love spending time on rope, and a bunch of us have started getting into kind of the rope access side of things. So like Sprat.
Yeah,
and,
I was gonna ask you if you had done any rope access or got Sprat certified or anything.
I still got to get the Sprat cert. Actually, down in Rhode Island, there's Kong Industries.
Yep.
And they host the classes, and I owe them. I owe them a class. So.
Oh, really?
Well, I got to take the class. I had to back out, unfortunately. So I owe Nate from Kong a class.
Yeah, they have a really good reputation.
Great people down there. And it's good though because we're starting to see like a lot of the equipment and techniques from people that are on rope every day.
Yeah, rope access. Yeah,
transferring over into the rescue world.
Yeah,
and it's honestly making our job in the fire service so much easier. I'd love to be able to get. I mean, this is me personally, just away from the strict NFPA. Well, everything's going to be NFPA. Everything's going to be NFPA.
Like safety factors.
That 15-to-1 safety factor.
Yeah.
No, this rope can hold 11,000 pounds. I'm not going to build an elaborate system when I can take two pieces of equipment and effect a rescue.
Right. Yeah. And like a lot of people complain that like stuff like especially in tech rescue is time consuming. And that's part of it, right? Is that you have to do all of these safety things to be like compliant with NFPA and whatever the case is. So maybe it would help speed things up too on live calls.
Yeah. Speed can be a good thing. One thing that anybody that's taken one of our classes has heard me say is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That is one of my go-tos. If you just kind of slow things down, you make sure everything's done correctly. That's where the speed comes in.
Exactly.
That and training.
Right. Repetition.
Right? The repetition. Repetition is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think? We asked Paul this as well, but what do you think? What kind of mindset makes a good tech rescue person versus a good, engine guy or even a truck guy or whatever the case is? Like, what do you think the mindset is that's different for somebody who's really good at tech rescue?
Someone that's really good at tech rescue.
Like maybe some of the common traits. Like what? So for example, like talking about Matt, right? Like when you're looking to pick like a new person for the rescue company, like what type of individual are you like, this is the type of person that I think would excel in this environment?
Outgoing, friendly, just a positive attitude. Just someone that's into the job. If you're really into the job, you're going to dive headfirst into it and you're going to have fun, like going out and rappelling off the side of a building. Not everyone's cup of tea, but if you're really into the job, we're doing really cool things.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
You could teach the actual
oh,
skills of whatever, but having the passion for it is something that's got to be
yeah,
internal.
because I mean, we can train most anybody, right? We can take someone and train them up, and they're going to be great at laying line or throwing ground liners or setting up for a trench rescue. We can train that. You got to have the passion for the job,
Yeah.
and just having an open mind.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I've kind of seen. We're lucky, like our generation. It's we all take classes, we all gain knowledge. I used to find the older generation, the people that had the knowledge, they'd like to hold on to it and
Right.
use it, as like a power, like a power move. Like I have the knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share it with anybody.
I'm the keeper of the keys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I've definitely seen that shift with our generation. Is hey, I've taken all these classes. Hey, do you want to learn? I'm happy to teach you.
Yeah.
I
think also that's where social. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where, like, good. There's a lot of bad things, obviously, about social media, but I think that's one of the places social media has excelled for the fire service, and is that people want to share knowledge, and they can. Like, you can put it up, and you can get it seen by thousands and thousands of people, and then you can have, you put it up like, hey, we do this, and then you get somebody that says, hey, have you thought about trying this? Have you thought about trying this? And the next thing you know, you have this long discussion where people somewhere in the middle or whatever are changing how they're doing things or trying out different things, and like that knowledge sharing is huge, especially like between like like the West Coast and the East Coast is a good example. Very different tactics, you know what I mean? Like, we're just completely different how the fire service grew, obviously partially based on what we see and what they see or whatever, but you can share those tactics with somebody from Boston to LA instantly.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a really cool cool thing to like for us to be a part of and to witness, and that was kind of the whole like buildup of the podcast for us. Is like, we just wanted to like talk about this stuff and like share knowledge, like bring people on that have something to say about the fire service and can share some knowledge about it and leave it better than we found
feel like
it.
It's much easier to like build and maintain relationships too. Like us guys from like the East Coast, like maybe if we're in like the 80s or 70s, you'd be kind of like isolated, like, oh, like Cambridge and Newton or, Brock, like we have our like regional like rescues will talk to each other and share ideas, but like what's going on the West Coast. But now, like, Chief, like you could talk to a guy that's a rescue captain out in like LA County and become friends and share ideas, and it's so much easier now to build those relationships than it was probably in the past.
I mean,
it's such a great thing.
We're gonna have a captain on from Wichita next week. You know what I mean? Like it's just you couldn't do that 20 years ago. Before the advent of social media, at least not easily. You could find out who they were through like magazines and then reach out, maybe bring them in for like a live class, but you couldn't do what we're doing today. It's
you'd have to read like fire engineering. There'd be an ad for a conference out in the Midwest, and you're like, all right, I'll go there and take a look at that. It's just the social media. Just obviously, you got to contend with like the Monday morning quarterbacks. I mean, that's we've always had those, and we're always going to have them. Sharing the knowledge. We had Jeremy from National Fire Radio. He came through Newton, and he highlighted a couple of things we did on the rescue. Just a perfect example of somebody just going out and just sharing.
And what's cool about his is like we've talked about it before. Is he literally just like he's like, oh, that's a cool feature you put in your truck. Like, hey, here's a photo and a video of how it works, and then you're like, like, why wasn't that like thought of or used more often, or you know, not applicable everywhere necessarily, but like there's so many, and I think you already said it, there's so many intelligent people in the fire service that like you don't always have to reinvent or invent the wheel. You just got to find the people that you can learn from, you know what I mean? And they're out there, they're everywhere.
Oh yeah, they're out there. And you know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong room. And
absolutely.
I'm very lucky that I've always been surrounded by really smart people that I've learned a lot from, and I just try my best to pay that forward.
Absolutely. Barry, you got anything you want to chip in? That'd be awesome. I know. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we stop the recording, but I'm going to get a chance to hang out with you a little bit more here in the coming months through some of the programs at MFA. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Oh yeah.
So Chief, do you have any parting words of wisdom you'd like to leave with the people, or a challenge for people? So like something to train or anything to leave for the people that took the time to watch today?
Yeah, I'll finish with something I say often in the classes. Give me 3. When you're at the firehouse, give me 3. Give me an hour of training, give me an hour of physical fitness, and then give me an hour reading a book. Doesn't have to be a fire service book, anything. So
That's awesome.
Train your body, train your mind, train as a crew. And then, you know, you have an hour for lunch, hour for dinner, an hour for chores. You have 18 hours to sit in the recliner at the firehouse if you want.
I love that.
Right. You got 24 awesome. You got 24 hours at the station. Give me 3 to better yourself and your crew.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You know,
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even want to add to that. I think that's a fucking perfect way to end this episode is give me 3. So Chief, just want to say thank you for coming on. I've been looking forward to doing this for a while, and
awesome.
really cool to hear your story, like, and how you come up. And I think that's something with everybody we talk to is I love hearing how people got into the fire service and where that path took them, because everybody is slightly different. You know, you don't think there are that many different paths in the fire service, but we've all taken some different ones. So I really appreciate your time, and thanks for tuning in today. Make sure that you follow us on the social media, give us a like and subscribe, and we will catch you next week. I'm not going to say JobTlks out because Johnny's not here. So see ya.
See ya.